The purpose of this video is to go through and discuss the meaning behind the Declaration of Independence as given July 4th, 1776. So we're going to just go through the first two paragraphs is all in this video and discuss some of the meaning here. I'd ask that you annotate those two paragraphs. You are going to be writing a little bit about that today, so you will need to have a half sheet paper out in addition to this pink paper in front of you, your own copy of the Declaration of Independence. Okay. So I'm just going to dive in, and as I go, I'm just going to highlight some words and make some comments on my paper as well regarding the document we're discussing here. Okay. So first of all, the first paragraph. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So just a comment on that. First of all, it's one sentence. Notice that that's one sentence. That's a pretty crazy sentence, and it's very in depth, and there are lots of parts to it. So let's look at some of those parts. When in the course of human events, just another way of saying, when things happen, kind of idea. It becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. Another way of saying, sometimes it's necessary for one group of people to separate themselves from another group of people. And in this case, of course, that would be separating of the United States, or the America, the 13 colonies, from England. Okay. And to assume the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So this part is saying, when we do that, when we separate ourselves from another group of people, it's kind of important that we go through and explain why we need to do that. So declare the causes, and so as we continue, notice that that's exactly what they're doing. They're going through the causes for why they had to separate themselves from England, and explaining their reasoning there. Okay. All right, now to the part of the document that we're all really familiar with. We all know the first line of this probably by heart. Okay, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, let's break that down, because I don't know if I've ever really understood that phrase or that sentence to what it really means. Okay, these truths are self-evident, meaning it's obvious. It should be obvious that these things need to happen. First, that all men are created equal, okay, and that they have certain rights that are given to them, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Okay, the term unalienable, by the way, means it shouldn't be possible to take these away, that they are guaranteed rights. Okay, to alienate would mean to make them isolated, to put them off. To unalienate would mean to say that they are one, they're always there, they're always present. So unalienable rights, and namely, specifically, that those rights are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Okay, remember last class we talked through Locke and how Locke said life, liberty, and property are the unalienable rights. And remember, now they've changed that in this document and said life, liberty, and the right to happiness, or to pursue happiness, are the unalienable rights. These are things that everyone should have. Now, there's a whole conversation to be had here about the Declaration of Human Rights and how there are certain things that should be guaranteed to everybody, and how those are and are not currently the case. Okay. Anyways, to continue, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Notice that part. Deriving is an important word. Okay, so I'm going to underline that word. From the consent of the governed, so they get their powers from the agreement of those people who are being governed. Again, going back to Locke and some of the people we talked about before, there's this agreement saying, well, yes, we will allow ourselves to be governed because the government gives us things. There are certain things that they allow us, and if they're not allowing us these things, then we need to separate. We need to separate ourselves from them, or overthrow them in some way. Okay. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, meaning of the rights of these rights listed here, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Okay, so when these things are not happening right here, then it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish that government and make a new one, and so that they can secure their own safety and happiness. Okay. This sentence is important too. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Prudence, the term prudence is interesting, right? Prudence is saying it's wise, it's cautious, and a good idea to not change things for light and transient causes. Transient meaning changing, or inconsistent. Okay, that government should not be blown by the winds of the time, but that they should be grounded, and they should have traditions and have long established ideas and habits and traditions, and that those should not be changed daily. Okay, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Now, this part is it's saying, yeah, and it's true that people tend to stay in the situations that they are used to. Okay, if you're used to being picked on, you don't think anything of it, and you stay in that situation even though you realize you're being picked on, and you know you're being picked on, you know that it's not right. You tend not to do something about it if you're used to that. However, if you're not used to that and you get treated poorly, then you're more likely to do something about it. So again, experience has shown that we are more likely to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. We're more likely not to do something about it because we just kind of put up with it. And I think that in this comment, they're saying we're used to that, right? Sometimes we just are used to the British coming around and telling us what to do and taking our money and demanding that we pay taxes. But look, they're not giving us these things, so now we need to do something about it. Okay. All right. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, I'm going to underline that one for sure, pursuing invariably the same object and vices, underline that one, designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, definitely underlining that one, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Okay, so let me just go through that sentence again. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, meaning when it's been a long time coming, when the habit has been there for abuse, then pursuing the and excuse me. So when the habit is there for abuse, pursuing invariably the same object and vices, a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. Meaning, if we're destined for despotism, if we're destined for destruction, it is their right. It is their duty. Okay, I would just, well, I'm going to mark that phrase. I think that's important. Not only is it okay for them to do it, but now they're saying we must do it. Now that sentiment is echoed centuries later when Martin Luther King, if, as you're probably familiar with, he has this same idea with civil disobedience, saying not only is it our right to disobey unjust laws, it is our responsibility to do it. And so it's that phrase exactly is what Martin Luther King later references in his writings. Okay, to throw off such government to provide new guards for their future security. Okay? Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, again repeating that word, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. And then we're not worried about this today, but they go through and they list all these things that the King of England has done that has proven himself a tyrant over the states. Okay, so hopefully that helps make some sense of this. Next, what I'd like you to do is on your own half sheet of paper, I would like you to go through this document and pick one or two phrases from this and tell me what you think they mean. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go through and write about this document particularly, and just these two paragraphs of this document, and what it means to you, and then we'll discuss those answers a little bit more in just a moment. For instance, I went through and I wrote about their sentence structure and their word choice and how those things are unique. But then I went back to that main thesis, this idea that people have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I wrote about how those are true, how those are guaranteed today, and how they are restricted today, and how maybe we should do something about those kinds of things, and when is that okay and when is it not okay. Anyways, that's a little bit what I wrote about. So again, same thing. You pick a phrase. Maybe it's one that I highlighted here. Maybe it's one that I didn't. But pick a phrase that stood out to you and tell me what you think that particular phrase means. Take about 5 minutes to write. Think of it as a little mini timed write, and just tackle that topic. I'll collect the half sheet of paper from you today, but I would like you to hold on to your copy of the article or your copy of the Declaration of Independence until next time.